Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Thursday. This is Seattle Now. The city's new NHL team hit the ice for the first time ever on Tuesday.
Blue score! Ryan Donato has the first goal in Seattle Kraken history, and it's a 3-1 game.
The Seattle Kraken lost their first game, but they'll get another chance tonight. We'll talk to ESPN's Greg Wyshynski in a minute. But first, let's get you caught up. Both Seattle mayoral candidates agree. SPD officers who don't meet the city's October 18th vaccination deadline should lose their jobs. Q13 reports Bruce Harrell and Lorena Gonzalez both support firing cops who don't get vaccinated, something Mayor Durkin has required. But hundreds of officers still haven't turned in proof they've done it. Almost 100 more are seeking an exemption. As of yesterday, SPD has gone on an emergency staffing footing to prepare for any losses. Harrell and Gonzalez meet in the first of two televised mayoral debates tonight at 7 o'clock. A new report from the King County Prosecutor's Office says there have been more shootings in 2021 so far than there were all of last year. Data out earlier this week says that as of September, 73 people have been killed by gunfire this year across the county. Of more than 350 victims of gun violence, most of them were young men of color. There have been more than 1,000 shots fired incidents in all, up nearly 50% over the previous four-year average. And if you're a super prepared, early kind of voter, some good news for you. Ballot drop boxes are open starting today. If you haven't seen your ballot yet, don't worry. They should start arriving next week. You've got until November 2nd to get them returned.
Brandon Tanev and the Seattle Kraken, game number 1 in their history. Hello, Seattle. Hello, Las Vegas. Hello, America.
The long-awaited moment has arrived for hockey fans and aspiring fans in the city. We've released the Kraken. The team had their first game against the Vegas Golden Knights Tuesday, and while they didn't win, they had an exciting comeback in the third period where, after trailing the Knights by 3...
Marchessault tries to make a move, but it turns over to Geeky. Geeky, quick touchdown score! Holy snaky! What a snipe by Geeky!
They tied it up. Ultimately, they lost 4-3, but it seems like a pretty respectable start for our brand new team. Here to break it all down is Greg Wyshynski. He's a senior NHL writer for ESPN and co-host of the podcast Puck Soup. Hey, Greg, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. It's a very exciting time for hockey, not only the dawn of a new season, but the dawn of a new franchise.
It's amazing. I love it. And the city, I have to say, is so excited. The Kraken lost, but they did. They put up a good fight. Give me your quick analysis of the NHL debut game for this team.
Well, they had the unfortunate luck of having to play one of the best teams in the world in their first game in the Vegas Golden Knights. Also, having to play in Vegas is a very tough thing, too. The Golden Knights are quite good on home ice with all their pageantry and their fans. And you could see it. You could see the Kraken came out a little bit looser than you'd want defensively in front of a very good Golden Knights team. But I was impressed with Seattle as the game went on. They were able to kind of exert their will a little bit more in the offensive zone. I liked them getting their defensemen involved in the play a lot more. And I think their goaltender, Philip Grubauer, who was, of course, their big offseason acquisition, really settled down after some specious goals to begin with. So I came away pretty confident that the Kraken are going to be what we think they're going to be this season, which is a potential playoff team, even if things didn't work out all that well against Vegas.
Which is an exciting setup, honestly, for this team. Any surprises in this game for you?
Well, I'll say one guy that I don't think a lot of us really paid a lot of attention to when he was a prospect with the Carolina Hurricanes, a guy by the name of Morgan Geeky, which is an amazing last name for a data-driven team. He's a center. He's about 23 years old and really made an impression in their first game and is one of those guys that may not necessarily have the cachet of the big unrestricted free agents that the Kraken signed, but could be someone we end up talking a lot more about as the season goes on if he can find his stride offensively.
The first home game for this team isn't until October 23rd, and there are several games between now and then. How will being on the road for so long impact the Kraken?
It's a great question. I mean, it's especially tough to judge it because we don't quite know what this team is. Now, there are some teams that play a number of road games to start the season. Let's say if their arena isn't complete yet. In fact, the New York Islanders are going through the same thing right now that the Kraken are, starting the season on the road while a new arena at Belmont Park in New York gets finished. Sometimes these long road trips to start a season can bond a team together. And you find chemistry that way. And then sometimes you'd rather be in front of your own fans and getting that boost of energy to maybe break up let's say an inauspicious start, which we hope the Kraken don't end up having. So it can go a number of ways, but overall, if you talk to the players, this time on the road together, away from, the distractions of home ice and the lives back home, can sometimes be a very big bonding experience.
Interesting. Any rivalries between the Kraken and other teams brewing that we should know about?
Well, we all assume there's going to be a geographic rivalry between themselves and the Vancouver Canucks. I think the folks in Vancouver are at least hoping that's the case. And I've always been interested in the unique sports dynamic between Vancouver and Seattle. I mean, I have a lot of friends that live in British Columbia. They're all Seahawks fans, but they're obviously not going to be Kraken fans because they have the Canucks in town. So one assumes the geographic rivalry will exist there, but it doesn't always work out that way, even when you're in the same division. I'm reminded of the fact that we've had two teams in Florida, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers, since the early 1990s, yet last postseason was the first time those two teams ever met each other in the playoffs. That's, where rivalries are really forged. So they met each other, they hate each other. That's the great news, but it took a long time for them to really work up that animosity, even though they were division rivals.
I'm glad you mentioned the geography between here and Vancouver, BC, because I know that the hockey blood is strong in Seattle here. And there's a lot of people from Canada who play hockey in this town. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. What are you most excited for as the season progresses for this team?
I'm excited to see those road jerseys again. Those are sweet. Those white,
those white uniforms.
Oh my God! Now some people were making the Aquafresh joke about the team, which is kind of lame, and it was the same thing they used to say about the Islanders fish sticks jerseys back in the day. You can look them up on Google. But I think they're some of the sharpest uniform kits that I've seen, especially the road jerseys in particular. But beyond the fashion sense, on the ice, I'm just looking to see who emerges from this collection of players in this roster to really be difference makers. I mean, we assume it's going to be the names we know. What I want to see is the players that sort of emerge, if not out of nowhere, then emerge being placed into higher profile roles. Your Morgan Geekies, your Ryan Donatos, your Carson Soucies, Hayden Fleury, players like that, for the hardcore hockey fan, you probably have heard the names, but we just haven't seen them really shine. And the other thing I'm really interested in is seeing how this team will win. I was talking to some people around the league about the Kraken before the season. We all agree, defensively, they've got some great players on the blue line. Goaltending wise, Philip Grubauer, Chris Driedger, that's one of the top goaltending tandems you could want in the National Hockey League. The hesitation for some people, though, in seeing the Kraken as a potential playoff team in the Pacific Division was, where are the goals going to come from? And for me, I'm looking directly at the defense, trying to generate more offense from those defensemen than maybe some other teams do, because they certainly have the players that could do so.
The next game is against the Nashville Predators later tonight. How do you expect they'll do?
Well, I hope they win. I'll tell you, I was, again, really impressed with how the Kraken played for the majority of their first game. Once they got past the initial waves of offense from the Golden Knights, I think things settled down. I liked the way they got their defense involved in the offensive flow. It seemed like some players were really on their games early on. Brandon Tanev, a forward who's also a penalty killer, I thought had a very strong game. So I want to see some incremental chemistry develop between some of these lines, but mostly I just want to see them play a complete game, because it did feel like in some ways against the Golden Knights that they just ran out of runway in a game that they might have otherwise been able to win.
All right. Any advice for new Seattle hockey fans, not just the longtime Kraken fans?
Well, overall, just enjoy the sport for what it is, which is a physical, frequently low scoring, but high intensity game. And the best advice, and I know it's not going to be easy because the Kraken tickets are going to be a very high demand entity, I believe, not only this season, but going forward. If you've not watched a hockey game, then definitely watch it in person. It is the key that unlocks fandom. I love hockey on TV. I think my network, ESPN, does a very, very cool job in presenting it in a very cool technological way to try to capture the excitement of it. But no one is going to be able to replicate the feeling of being inside the arena and being amongst a crowd of fellow travelers and amongst hockey circles and understanding the velocity and the skill and frequently the artistry with which this game is played.
It's also a lot easier to follow the puck when you're inside.
Well, we're trying to fix it. We got a big old camera that hangs over the ice. You can kind of see the puck in the corner. They don't have to make it glow anymore like they did in the 1990s. We're trying to fix it.
But we were just talking about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, those were the halcyon days of hockey on TV. No, but like you said, not only do you get to see the puck more in person and understand how the game flows, but you'll also get to see those things. And this is why I love watching hockey in person. You get to see those things that happen away from the cameras, whether it's just interaction between the players or seeing how the seeds of a scoring play are planted early on in a sequence. Like there's so much more to the game than what you see from those big cameras swinging back and forth at center ice. And being there in person is the only way to really see it.
Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN and co-host of Puck Soup Podcast. Really good to talk to you. Thanks, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening today. Caroline Chamberlain Gomez produced today's show. Our production team is Clare McGrane, Jenny Cecil Moore, Diana Opong, and Jason Pagano. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy.